getting close to showtime. Head her home to the Tuesday Live studios. Serve potatoes. It's like breakfast. Close. What? We're closed. What? What is going on here? I wasn't here when I left. Morning. Hey, Willie, get up. The day I shipped out, they numbered a dozen. Upon my return were 100 or so. The coasting from the prairies, I bet they keep coming. And one more name from Ontario, and carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above with their flags flying low, carry me softly down the highway of heroes.
patriot love there was never more. Served with distinction, visions of glory, served without question, personal gain. Seek no justification, it's not part of my story, and it offers no comfort to the ones who remain. Just carry me home down the highway of heroes, people above with their flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love there was never more. I took out my vacation, I was called by my nation without hesitation. My answer I gave. Now I am not wondering of things that I might have been, and I'm no consolation to the forgotten brave. So carry me home down the highway of heroes, people above and the flags flying low. Oh, carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love there was never more. Carry me home down the highway of heroes, the people I love with their heads hung low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love there was never more. 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 Good evening. I come to you live tonight from the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples. Indigenous people have served Canada, and I'm certainly grateful for their service. And I believe yesterday was the Indigenous Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day, which was nice to have a special day to remember the veterans from the Indigenous community who have served Canada and even before Canada. Certainly the Indigenous peoples were fighting with the British and the French when the British and the French were fighting, and certainly anyone who grew up down along the St. Lawrence River and remembers the story of the Battle of Chrysler's Farm during the War of 1812 will know that the Indigenous peoples played an important role in that battle as well. Tonight on the 85th episode of Tuesday Live, we're sharing songs and stories of war and remembrance. The opening song I played, if you didn't recognize it, is called Highway of Heroes, a little different version than done originally recorded by the Trews from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And they have a few more bagpipes and things on there, so I just didn't have handy here tonight. But the song commemorates the Highway of Heroes, that section of the 401 that extends from Trenton to Toronto. And where the funeral convoys of fallen Canadian Forces personnel travel, with the highway overpasses filled with grateful Canadian citizens paying their respects to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Performing tonight on the show is our old friend from New Brunswick, Sandy McKay. Sandy's back, everybody. Isn't that exciting? As well as our regular crew of Willie, Rob Dillon, Robbie O'Spoon, and Neil Olden, Lazy Horse. And of course, we have photographer Stan McRae sharing some images from Remembrance Day ceremonies that he's recorded over the years. I have also compiled some Remembrance images and stories provided by audience members from this year as well as last. So if you didn't submit something this year, but you did submit something last year, you might see it again this year, because I think we have to keep bringing these stories forward and reminding ourselves and other people of the great sacrifices that people of our generation and previous generations certainly have made to preserve our freedom here. I have a few from my family as well, and I was reminded by my Aunt Chris that on my mom's side of the family it generated a number of individuals who served both here and back in their Ukraine homeland. It seems a little unusual as they were Mennonites, and as my great uncle Vic once joked with me, the thinnest book in the world is Mennonite War Heroes. My grandfather John Clausen fought in the White Russian Army during the Russian Revolution and was captured by the Bolsheviks. He was fortunate that one of his captors was from his village and helped him escape, which allowed him to immigrate to Canada, which was good for me and everybody else that followed along behind Grandpa Clausen. And my great uncle was left behind and served in the Red Army, where he died, although not in battle. I'm just going to pop up. I've got a few pictures. I'm going to try to see if I can do this, run a scene and talk at the same time. Okay, I think I'm going here. There's my, that's my uncle. That was my uncle Cornelius Clausen, who lived in Winnipeg. I didn't know him too much, but he was injured and served Canada actually during the Second World War and was injured. And also, this is my, let's get this going here. There he is. That's Uncle Vic. I knew Uncle Vic, and that's Aunt Helen. I didn't know them at that age, but they were, Uncle Vic served during the Second World War as well, and lived in, he was my grandfather's half brother, and that was kind of interesting. And then probably the story I've heard of, I've never met him either, was my mother's cousin Bert Petco, who enlisted in 1949 and became a fighter pilot in the Air Force and was stationed with the City of Vancouver 442 Fighter Squadron while completing his doctorate in mathematics at UBC. But he tragically perished after a mid-air collision during a training exercise near Squamish. My Uncle Stuart, he wasn't a Mennonite, he married into the family, but he served as a U.S. Army chaplain during the Second World War. We have a lot more pictures and stories to share tonight, but let's head out to the shed and see what Willie has for us. Hey y'all, Willie here. Good to see ya. Everybody's had a good week. Stu and I are glad to be here for this War and Remembrance show, and playing some tunes. And I know we got some veterans and some folks that served out there too watching the show. I certainly send my thanks out to you. I know Lee down there in the States, he was, I believe, a veteran of the Vietnam conflict, and so thank you for your service, Lee, and thank you for everybody else out there who served. I know, people tend to judge about wars and things like that, but sometimes you just gotta have, compassion for folks. And what's that, Stu? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is hard to find compassion for folks that have a different point of view than you do. It took me a long time to understand Stu's point of view, the rabbit point of view. So, sometimes you got to sit back and try to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, so to speak, find out, how they do. So, this song here I'm going to play here, it's a kind of bit of a sad song. I hope it's not too sad for you, but, war can certainly be a sad thing. It leaves a lot of damage that lingers on long after the war's over. And this song about a fella that comes back from the war and has a lot of trouble and ends poorly. And it's written by the late great John Prine. It's called Sam Stone. Sam Stone came home to his wife and family after serving in the conflict overseas. And the time that he served shattered all his nerves, left a little shrapnel in his knee. But the morphine eased the pain, and the grass grew around his brain, and it gave him all the confidence he lacked. With a purple heart and a monkey on his back. And there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. And Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. Sam Stone's welcome home didn't last too long. He went to work when he'd spent his last dime. And Sammy took to stealing when he got that empty feeling for $100 habit without overtime. And the gold rolled through his veins like 1,000 railroad trains, and eased his mind in the hours that he chose. Well, the kids ran round wearing other people's clothes, and there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. Sam Stone was alone when he popped his last balloon, climbing walls while sitting in a chair. Well, he played his last request while the room smelled just like death, with an overdose hovering in the air. But life had lost its fun, and there was nothing to be done but trade his house that he bought on the GI Bill for a flag-draped casket on a local hero's hill. And there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. In anticipation of Remembrance Day, Tim Farrell flies his father's RCAF flag. Frank Farrell served in the armed forces for 28 years and for part of the war served on coastal patrol in the St. Lawrence River, searching for U-boats. Tim's dad is in the group picture, bottom right. The other handsome flyer is Tim's uncle, Steve Hawrish, who was a tail gunner in a Lancaster bomber. His other uncles who were in World War II are not pictured, and they were Jerry Conlon, who served on a Corvette in the Royal Canadian Navy, Stephen Farrell in the Canadian Army, and Jim Farrell, who was in the U.S. Army. Well, thank you for that song, Willie. Sad, but you know, there's certainly a lot of suffering that happens after wars are over. That as a society we certainly have to be compassionate about and recognize, and certainly thank everybody that's here tonight. I see David's here, and Kathy and Dwight up in Fenland Falls, and Stan, good to see you, and Kathy from Elmira, as well as Danny from up in the Bruce, and Uncle Lee down in New York. Thanks for dropping in, Lee, and thank you for your service as well. Thank you. I know you served in Vietnam. That was we're very all proud of you for that. And Kelly and John, I believe down in Niagara, and Putty down in Eastern Ontario, and Evelyn and Ken are here as well. And I think they are be very familiar with our next performer, who's from down New Brunswick. I haven't seen him for a bit, but it's good to have him back, and that's Mr. Sandy McKay.
Well, howdy, friends. Been a while since I've seen you. Hi, Rob. Been a busy summer, fall. Good to see you again. It's a lovely, beautiful day. Remembrance Day coming. There's a song by Ed McCurdy that I remember from my childhood. Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed there was a mighty room filled with women and men, and the papers they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the papers all were signed and a million copies made, they bowed their heads and joined their hands, and prayerful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and swords and guns and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed there was a mighty room filled with women and men, and the papers they were signing said they'd never fight again. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, swords and guns and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war.
Regimental Sergeant Major Charles J.S. Fenton. They shall not grow old, that we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. Thank you so much for that, Sandy. A beautiful, beautiful song. I'd not heard of it before, and it was a lovely job. Great to have you back on the show. And also thanks to Charlie Fenton. Saw there a Canadian World War II veteran. I knew Charlie well. He was dad of my good friend Murray, and also my scout master when I was a kid, and Sunday school teacher, I think. Charlie was a military man through and through. Loved the Legion. Always had a few beers even when I got a little older at the Legion with Charlie and some of his friends. That was always fun. But And speaking of the Legion and Legionnaires and Remembrance Day, let's head over to our good friend Stan McRae, who has some pictures for us, Stan. Thank you so much for that, Stan. I asked Stan when he sent those pictures in to share. I asked who the gentleman in the pictures were. Some of the veterans that he sent pictures of, and the gentleman who's the photographer who had the veteran's jacket on, his back turned to us. That was a friend of Stan's, who's a Canadian Forces veteran, Dick Budge. And the soldier in sort of the tinted photo that looks a bit like a painting was Stan's wife Susie's grandfather, Hupton James Palmer, who fought in the Boer War and also guarded the Cornwall Canal during World War II. Those of you aren't familiar with that end of the province and up towards Quebec City, there was concern, and there actually were U-boats, German U-boats coming up the St. Lawrence during the Second World War. So it was an area of concern for protecting, shipping and just communities in general. And then the soldier in the black and white photo towards the end there, that was John Swainson. You also saw his name on the cenotaph memorial. He was a British home child. The British home children were brought to Canada as orphans and sort of farmed out to farms, sort of adopted, I guess. And John fought for his adopted country and paid the ultimate price and was killed during the Second World War. And of note as well is that today's also Stan's birthday. So happy birthday, Stan. And I found a Remembrance Day song by Mike Plume that I'm going to play for you. So. For every hero took a stand, died in a far-off land, help our children to understand on Remembrance Day. Every hero said goodbye and left behind a blushing bride. Mother's heart still filled with pride on Remembrance Day. Hut 2, 3, 4, Johnny goes marching off to war. Remember what they were fighting for on Remembrance Day. every hero who in battle fell, in a field raining down with shells. It's their story we must tell on Remembrance Day. Hut 2, 3, 4, Johnny goes marching off to war. Remember what they were fighting for on Remembrance Day. Every hero volunteered to defend us both far and near. They're the reason we're standing here on Remembrance Day. Hut 2, 3, 4, Johnny goes marching off to war. Remember what they were fighting for on Remembrance Day. Hut 2, 3, 4, Johnny goes marching off to war. Remember what they were dying for on Remembrance Day. On Remembrance Day. On Remembrance Day. For every hero who took a stand and died in a far-off land, we must help our children to understand on Remembrance Day. Thanks again, Stan. And here's our local folk singer, Rob Dylan.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Dylan here. Glad to be back Tuesday Live. It was really fun hosting last week's show, the Bob Dylan special. That was a lot of fun. And having Bob call in, that was pretty exciting, let me tell you. I've never really talked to him since he left home. Well, I wasn't born when he left home, so never really talked to him, but it's good to talk to him. And I thought for this week I'd do a song that Bob actually recorded in 1993 on his World Gone Wrong album. And well, you know, it's a traditional song. You know, Bob's done a lot of war protest songs. I didn't really want to do one of those. I thought I'd do something more looking at the soldiers, out of respect for the soldiers who fight. And these are a couple Union songs about a couple Union soldiers back in the American Civil War, and it's called Two Soldiers. So hope you enjoy it. Just a blue-eyed Boston boy. His voice was low with pain. I'll do your bidding, comrade mine, if I ride back again. But if you ride back and I am left, you'll do as much for me. Oh, mother, you know, must hear the news, so write to her tenderly. She's waiting at home like a patient saint, her fond face pale with woe. Her heart will be broken when I am gone. I'll see her soon, I know. Just then the order came to charge. For an instant hand touched hand. They said A and then away they rode. They
brave and devoted band. Straight was the track to the top of the hill. The rebels, they shot and shelled, plowed furrows of death through the toiling ranks, and guarded them as they fell. There soon came a horrible dying yell from the heights they could not gain, and those that doom and death had spared rode slowly back again. Among the dead that were left on the hill was the boy with that curly hair. The tall, dark man that rode by his side lay dead beside him there. There's no one to write to the blue-eyed girl that words that her lover had said. Oh, mama, you know, awaits the news, and she'll only know he's dead.
Bob Charters joined the Air Force when he turned 18 and flew with the RAF. He was a navigator and bomb aimer on Halifaxes and Lancasters. Shot down behind enemy lines in France while dropping supplies to the resistance, he escaped via the underground, walking over the Pyrenees into Spain, where he was traded back to England for fuel. There was only one other survivor from his crew, and he was captured. This is a photo of him visiting with his father while on leave in England.
Well, thank you so much, Rob, for that song, and a really interesting story about Mr. Charters there. And we're going to send it down to Dublin, Ontario to see what our Irish friend Robbie O'Spoon has to sing for us tonight. Robbie.
Oh, well, hello everybody out there in internet land. It's Robbie O'Spoon here at Dublin, Ontario. Just having a grand old time, you know, swelling the pigs and eating me potatoes and, well, drinking me Guinness too, that's for sure. But, you know, I was thinking about this War in Remembrance thing we're doing tonight on Tuesday Live, and can't help but think of the First World War. You know, such a terrible war, so many men just led to slaughter, and all because of these three cousins fighting, you know, the King of England and, you know, the Kaiser of Germany and the Tsar of Russia. Just these cousins having this big fight, and all the young men that were sacrificed for a lot of just foolishness, I think. And, you know, the problem is we're forgetting about this war because there's nobody around left that remembers the war because it's so long ago. And boy, if we forget these wars, you know, we're bound to do it again. So we certainly don't want to do it again. You know, there was the great war to end all wars, and, well, I don't think that happened, did it now? But anyways, the song's about a young fellow by the name of Willie McBride. You know, the songwriter went to France, to the cemeteries, and saw the thousands and thousands of white crosses, row upon row, across the fields, marking the death of all these the promise of all these young lives that was lost. And sat down by this one grave and wrote this song. It's called The Green Fields of France. Well, how do you do, young Willie McBride? Do you mind if I sit here down by your graveside and rest for a while in the warm summer sun? I've been walking all day and I'm nearly done.
I can see by your gravestone you were only 19 when you joined the Great Fallen in 1916. Well, I hope you died quick and I hope you died clean, or Willie McBride, was it slow and obscene? Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the fife lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Did you leave a wife or a sweetheart behind? In some faithful heart is your memory enshrined. And though you died back in 1916, to that faithful heart you're forever 19. Oh, are you a stranger without even a name? Forever enshrined be some old glass pane, in an old photograph all torn, tattered and stained, and faded to yellow in a brown leather frame. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the life lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Oh, the sun shining down on these green fields of France. The warm wind blows gently and the red poppies dance. The trenches have vanished long under the plow. No gas, no barbed wire, no guns firing now. But here in this graveyard it's still no man's land. The countless white crosses in mute witness stand. To Bland's blind admission to his fellow man, and a whole generation that were butchered and damned. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the fife lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? And I can't help but wonder, oh Willie McBride, do all those who lie here know why they died? Did you really believe them when they told you the cause? Did they really believe that this war would end wars? Well, the suffering, the sorrow, the glory, the shame, the killing and dying, it was all done in vain. Oh, Willie McBride, it all happened again, again and again and again and again. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the fife lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the fife lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest?
My father, David Witherspoon, didn't talk much about his war experience until later in life. He was fortunate to contract scarlet fever, which delayed his training such that he missed most of the heavy bombing of Germany, where 46% of crews died in action. Training at that stage of the war was very dangerous as well. Of the 10 crews in his bomber conversion training squadron, only 2 survived. Black circles on the ground marked the loss of an aircraft and crew. Mid-air collisions were common as well. Dad recalled his crew descending out of a cloud bank when another bomber darted underneath them. From his navigator bomb aimer position in the belly of the aircraft, he could see the surprised expressions on the faces of the other crew. Dad was proud of the missions his crew flew to provide food relief to Nazi-occupied Holland near the end of the war.
Thank you for that song, Robbie, and thank you, Dad, for your service. I remember my dad didn't talk much about his service till like towards the very end of his life. He sort of was talking about it. I think there was probably suppressing a lot of, that was a horrible time when you, like he said, when they went to of the 10 crews that started his final heavy bomber training, 2 of them survived. He was one of the 2. They crashed during training, partly because that was during the major bombing of Germany, and I think all the resources were being dedicated to the bomb crews, but they needed to replace them as well, and so I'm sure their mechanics and things on the training aircraft were probably pretty minimal, and plus they were training, they were learning, I guess, but there's no margin for error when you're flying an old bomber. But anyways, thanks for that, Robbie. And it's interesting about those the World War I veterans, because I remember when I was a student in Guelph, we rented this little duplex. It was an old house, but an old duplex. And down in the basement, there was sort of an old coal chute cellar or something down there. And there was a picture kind of propped up against the wall backwards. And I remember flipping it over. It was a picture of a young man who had enlisted in the First World War in 1915 or whatever. I can't remember. There's a date on it. And then someone had handwritten in killed, it was less than a year later from when the enlistment date. And I thought, well, this man is, whoever his family had been there at one point in time, but, the picture had been left behind, and I gave it to someone who collected that sort of thing, thinking that it would at least get some recognition that way. But it's kind of very terrible the way things are lost along the way. But memories are like that, I guess. But, we have to remember these things moving forward. I saw Tim checked in. Good to see you, Tim. And I just saw Ann checked in as well. Good to see you as well, Ann, tonight. And I saw earlier on Corey checked in, so good to see Corey. And there's, Catherine and Peter are here as well, and that's nice to see as well. I hope you're enjoying our War and Remembrance show. And we're going to head over to the Beatles tribute room where I thought I heard a horse neighing out there. So I'm thinking that maybe Neil Old and Lazy Horse are ready to do something for us. Neil and Lazy.
Well, hey everybody, it's Neil Old here, and well, look who's with me. Yeah, that's right, it's Lazy Horse with he's got his the vintage Ludwig drums he found up in the barn. So we're gonna play a little rock and roll, and for this War and Remembrance show, we're gonna do a Neil Young song called "Flags of Freedom." So, Lazy, why don't you kick it off? Today's the day our younger son is going off to war, fighting in the age-old battle, sometimes won before. The flags that line old Main Street are blowing in the wind. These must be the flags of freedom flying. Church bells are ringing as the families stand and wave. Some of them are crying 'cause the soldiers look so brave. Looking straight ahead like they know just where they're going. Past the flags of freedom flying. Sister has her headphones on. She hears the music blasting. sees her brother marching by. The bond is everlasting. Listening to Bob Dylan singing in 1963. Watching the flags of freedom flying. She sees the president speaking on a flat screen TV in the window of the old appliance store. She turns to see her brother again, but he's already walking past the flags of freedom flying. Have you seen the flags of freedom? What color are they now? Do you think that you believe in yours more than they do theirs somehow? Or when you see the flags of freedom flying? Today's the day our younger son is going off to war, fighting in the age-old battle we sometimes won before. The flags that line on Main Street are blowing in the wind. These must be the flags of freedom flying.
My wife Carol's Uncle James Robert Henderson enlisted with the Perth Regiment at the start of World War II. Serving as an intelligence officer, his regiment was involved in the Allied invasion of Italy in 1944. He and another officer were in an advanced position when they came under heavy shelling. His family initially received a telegram indicating that he had been wounded, but later learned he had been killed instantly. He is buried in the Montecchio War Cemetery near Florence, Italy.
Well, thank you, Neil and Lazy, for rocking things up a bit here. And also thank you, Uncle Jim, for making the supreme sacrifice. We never knew Carol's uncle, but we try to remember him every Remembrance Day and certainly pass that on to our children as well so that they remember him and that his memory will last for a while, because it was certainly a terrible loss to my wife's family of Uncle Jim. Nice to see you check in there, Tapper. Good to see you here tonight watching the show. Hope you're enjoying it. And we're going to head it down to the East Coast, getting down to New Brunswick to our good friend Sandy McKay with another song. What do you got for us, Sandy?
When I was a young man, I carried a pack, and I lived a free life of a rover. From the Murray Green Basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. In 1913, my country said, son, time to stop rambling, there's work to be done. And they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we sailed away from the quay. amidst all the cheers, the shouts and the beers, we sailed off for Gallipoli. I remember that terrible day, death, blood, and fire, and how in the hell that they called Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turkey was ready, he primed himself well, showered us with bullets and ringed us with shells, and in 3 minutes bloody blown us all to hell, nearly blew us right back to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped to bury our slain. We buried ours, and the Turks buried theirs, and it started all over again. For 7 long weeks I kept myself alive in that mad world of death, blood, and slaughter. All around me the corpses piled higher, then a big Turkish shell knocked me arse overhead, and when I awoke in my hospital bed, saw what it had done. Christ, I wished I was dead. I never knew there were worse things than dying. For no more I'll go waltzing Matilda through the green bushes so far and near. For to hang a tent and peg, a man needs 2 legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. We collected the crippled, the wounded and maimed, and they sent us back home to Australia. The armless, the legless, the blind, the insane, those proud wounded heroes of Suvla. When I got into Circular Quay and I looked at the place where my legs used to be, I thank Christ there was no one there waiting for me. To mourn, to grieve, and to pity. And now every April I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reliving their dreams of past glory. I see my old comrades, though tired, bent, and sore, forgotten heroes of a forgotten war. And the young people ask me, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. But the band plays Waltzing Matilda, and the old men still answer the call. But year after year, their numbers get fewer. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, who come waltzing Matilda. can be heard. They march past the bomb. Come a waltz, sing Matilda with me.
This is a poem Judy Neville wrote in 2018 for Claude Nunney to mark 100 years to the day he paid the supreme sacrifice. He was one of thousands of British home children who served for our freedom. The home children were British orphans shipped to Canada and sent to foster homes, often separated from their siblings and treated very poorly. Judy wrote this poem in memory of British home child Claude Nunney, Military Medal, Distinguished Conduct, and Victoria Cross. Away. I was sad to see my mum die, but the Catholic Church took us in. We couldn't stay, they sent us away. My brother and I, with 41 boys, sailed that day. To St. George's in Ottawa we all went, but we couldn't stay, they sent us away. My brother to one farm, I to another, so from my brother I was far away. I was housed and fed, worked hard each day, slept like a baby when I went to bed, thinking of siblings so far away. I finished my contract, then traveled for work, until word came of the old country going to war. I went to Glengarry, enlisted and trained, but we couldn't stay. They sent us away. Thousands of us homeboys bravely enlisted. Our old country needed us, Canada too. On the battlefield I saw comrades die, while others were injured, just like I. We couldn't stay. They took us away. On September 18, 1918. I couldn't stay. The Lord took me away. Please remember me and remember all the home children sent away. We couldn't stay. They sent us away.
Well, thank you for that version of the band played Waltzing Matilda, Sandy. And thank you also for that poem. I know Judy passed away this past year. That was actually something that Stan McRae shared with me last year. But it's still a lovely tribute to one of the British home children who paid the ultimate price for their adopted country. And that, I see Ron's just showed up, which usually that means it's the end of the show. Just kidding, Ron. We're going to send a search party up to Cap's Case and see what was going on with Ron up there. I'm sure you got what was happening up there. But good to have you here, Ron. Good to have everybody here tonight. That just about brings us to just about the end of tonight's show. Got a couple more things here to wind it up, but episode 85 of Tuesday Live. And thanks to everyone who participated in tonight's show. All the stories of all the veterans and the people who served the country. Those were fantastic. Thanks to all of you for sharing your stories. Those of you who did share your stories, and thanks to all of you who just came and watched the show tonight, participated and remembered, because that's all part of remembering, is to have people out there remembering. Stan McRae for sharing his inspiring images with us tonight. And it's so great to have Sandy McKay back. Thank you, Sandy. And also our regular performers, Rob Dillon, Neil Olden, Lazy Horse, Robbie O'Spoon, and Cousin Willie. And thank you to all the generous folks who support Tuesday Live as patrons or contributing to our virtual tip jar. Helps keep the whole thing afloat and going. And we're over 85 episodes. We're going to keep this thing going, hopefully at least through the winter. And if you want to know more information about the show, check out tuesdaylive.ca for how you can help support the show or sign up for the show. Sign up for our email list if you aren't on our email list. Thanks to our executive producer Carol for everything she does, and Karen Cantello and Julie Witherspoon who do our animation. And again, thank you so much for watching tonight. Come out and hang with me at the after party on Zoom. I think my mom is actually here. She's arrived. She's come to visit. So those of you who see my mom on the show, you might be able to see both of us together tonight. I'm not sure if she's up to that, but we'll see. And thank you to all those who have served, many who died in conflict or have since passed on. And we certainly have a duty to remember them, share these memories with future generations, and do all we can do to prevent future wars that have and continue to disrupt so many lives. But I'd like to do one song here. I wanted to do one of the songs from the Second World War. Maybe it's, I hope it's not too flippant to call them like the theme songs from the war, but certainly these are songs that people remembered. I remember my parents and my dad always enjoyed these songs. There are a couple by Vera Lynn, and I've picked up one of them. It's called The White Cliffs of Dover. I'm sure if you know it, you can sing along. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep. The valley will bloom again. And Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep. The valley will bloom again. And Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. Pipe us home, Sandy.